Hello, DC fans. Today we're going to take a look at the fact that the new DCU is kicking off with Creature Commandos. So exciting. So we're going to look in particular at what is canon to the DCU and what elements of the DCEU are being pulled in as well. So, lots to discuss. There will be spoilers for the first two episodes, but as long as you're okay with that, then let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have a December contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment, and you could win a book or a steelbook. Best of luck. And I'm sorry it's taken me so long, but I'm finally going to announce the November winners. And I'm saying winners plural because to celebrate hitting 20K subscribers, there are going to be 5 winners in November. And those 5 are the following. So congratulations to all of you. If your name's on here, then go to the About page on my channel and reach out to me via email or Discord, and I'll get you your prize right away. Also, we do have a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check it out in case you're interested. Okay, so I want to start off by talking about what is officially canon in the new DCU. So the interviewer asks him, a lot of people are wondering, what's canon in the new DC? And Gunn responds, it's whatever we mention in anything, right? And of course you can see he's laughing because he knows that answer is not sufficient. Although there's a lot of truth to it, as we're going to see. So then he elaborates a little more. He says Peacemaker is pretty easy. Peacemaker Season 1 is basically canon outside of the appearance of the Justice League at the end, which you'll see something about that in Peacemaker Season 2. So I can't wait to see how they explain the Justice League away. That's going to be really fun. Then, Suicide Squad. This is fascinating. Suicide Squad is probably a little looser. We know that Rick Flag Sr. is angry because his son was killed by Peacemaker. And of course, that comes up in the episodes. So we know that situation happened in the past. But this is key. He says, but that exists as canon because it was mentioned in Creature Commandos, not necessarily because it existed in Suicide Squad. I hope that makes sense. That is such an important statement. So it's canon because it was mentioned. Because he basically says Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are pretty unreliable memories of what happened in the DCU. So basically, anything that gets mentioned, boom, it's now canon. So, big thanks to Titan, who created this list. On the left are the characters and actors that appeared in the Suicide Squad, obviously, and Peacemaker Season 1. And then on the right is any character that was referenced and any character that was dead. So that means everything here is on the table for being part of the new DCU. But according to Gunn, it's not official until they are referenced in something like in Creature Commandos or Superman. Pretty cool, huh? So thank you, Titan. We'll kind of keep an eye on this list and check things off as those characters appear. Okay, so I thought this was a great question. Why start the new DCU with Creature Commandos? So his answer, well, because it was written. So if you think about it, it really does make sense because he probably was working on Creature Commandos before the new DCU was being discussed, or maybe around the same time, because we see so many heavy references in this show back to Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad. So it makes sense that he would have already had it written and ready to go, and that's why those two entries in particular, Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, are being pulled in to the DCU. So I thought this was a great question. So what's Economos been up to since Peacemaker Season 1? Well, who better ask than Economos himself? And this is an interesting thing that he says. I didn't realize until I saw the animation how soon after the season finale of Season 1 of Peacemaker this was. I still have a cane and a limp from that horrible compound fracture in my leg. So yeah, what he's referring to is when he tripped over the fence, remember, at the end of Peacemaker Season 1 and got a compound fracture. And in fact, at the end of Peacemaker Season 1, we see him using a crutch. Well, as he referred to, we also see him in Creature Commandos in a later episode with a crutch. So, okay, it seems to have taken a while for that to heal. No problem, that works. A nice continuity between the shows. So, this is basically the DCEU timeline, and I did do a video on this if you want more details on where I got these dates, but basically, these are the only 2 entries that are being pulled forward into the DCU, and even, let's call it pulled forward loosely, right? Only if things are mentioned from those are they now canon. Okay, well, that's interesting because both Economos and Harcourt did make an appearance in Shazam 2, and notice that Economos doesn't have a crutch. So it almost seems like in the old continuity, the old DCEU, he wasn't going to have a serious injury. But in the new DCU, Gunn decided, that he's still limping. So, okay, no problem. Then also Harcourt appeared in Black Adam. But the interesting thing about both of those appearances is they're not canon because neither Black Adam or Shazam 2 are part of the new DCU. So forget those 2 appearances. They didn't happen. But Let's now talk about the dates. So I put August 2020 and January of 2021. Where did I get those, and does Gunn agree with me? Those are important questions. Well, first of all, no, Gunn does not agree with me because he did an interview about the Suicide Squad and said it takes place in the year it comes out. And it came out in August of 2021, and so it takes place in 2021. But notice I said 2020, so what's up with that? Well, first of all, notice that this information that Gunn gave was during a Q&A session on Instagram. And there he is saying it takes place in the year it comes out. Well, the reason I went with 2020 is because during Harley's torture, the executioner is chatting on his phone, and if we zoom into it, and you kind of got to lean back and maybe at an angle because it's hard to see the writing, but you can see it better if you kind of tilt your computer or your phone. But anyway, it says Lunes 17 de Agosto de 2020, which translates to Monday, August 17th of 2020. The month of August makes sense because that is when the movie came out, in August of 2021. However, it sure looks like they switched it to 2020, or there's some disconnect with Gunn. But we kind of got to trust Gunn, right? So at least in his mind, it's August of 2021. But then this is interesting. Props, they help. Sometimes they don't help. And in this case, I'm going to say they don't help because this prop showed Harley's criminal record. And notice it's got her date of birth in December of 92 and her age as 29. So you can add that together, and there's no way, therefore, the movie could have occurred before December of 2021. Now, some of the other criminal records do work with an August of 2021, but not Harley's. So I don't think we can trust this. It's very unlikely when you watch the movie that it's happening in December. It is worth noting, though, that this seems to codify when Birds of Prey happened, right? August of 2020. So that's interesting. Okay, so what do we do with all of this? For now, I'm going to say that at least in the DCEU, that it is August of 2020, because there's no other way to make it fit in between the two Shazam movies with also Peacemaker and Black Adam. But sky's the limit in the DCEU. I mean, maybe it's going to be August of 2021. But why did I put Peacemaker 5 months later? Well, that one at least is a little easier because he says he was laid out in the hospital for like 5 months. And of course, that's because of his injuries in the Suicide Squad. And so that's why I put Peacemaker 5 months after wherever the Suicide Squad fits in the timeline. Okay, so let's set this aside for now, and let's go look at the episodes and what we learned from it, and then we'll come back and try to figure out the new DCU timeline. So in the episodes, we get a nice Themyscira reference during a GBS newscast, notice in the lower right-hand corner. So this at least makes Wonder Woman's Island canon to the DCU, but of course, we're not going to see Wonder Woman for a while. But GBS News, that's kind of cool because we also saw GBS News in the DCEU in several entries, because you can see Randall Park here having an interview. This is during Aquaman. All right, so what else do we learn? Well, Congress has seemed to put a stop to Task Force X because Rick Flag Sr. explains, I thought Congress put a stop to it since your daughter outed you. And remember, that happened during Peacemaker when, pretty much, she said this is all part of a Black Ops program known as Task Force X. So they had to shut down Task Force X, but as Amanda Waller explains, so she's now canon to the DCU, obviously, she says, but what about beings that aren't human? And therefore we get the Creature Commandos Task Force, we'll call them M, right? So then we see Weasel returning after his appearance in the Suicide Squad. They say it's one of the few soldiers still alive from Project Starfish in Corto Maltese. And of course, that means they must have picked the poor dude up after that post-credit scene where he finally got out of the water. We were afraid he drowned, but nope, he survived. He survived. In fact, they make another reference about the fact that Weasel had a bad experience on his last trip on the Osprey. And of course, that bad experience was he couldn't swim. One of the funniest lines of the movie was, did anybody check on whether Weasel could swim? Excellent. Love it. All right, so then we get a reference back to Rick Flag Jr. dying in the movie because Waller says when he died in Corto Maltese, he died a hero. And you might remember him getting stabbed in the heart with his final line being Peacemaker. What a joke. Oh, I hated Peacemaker after this. I love the Peacemaker series, but man, I was so mad at Peacemaker for killing him. So this is going to come back to haunt Peacemaker, and Rick Flag Sr. is going to come after him, I'm sure. But okay, so we also get this very important timeline indicator that he, Rick Flag Jr., passed on about 2 years back. Okay, very helpful. I don't know whether this helps us or not, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. G.I. Robot explains that he has been waiting for a friend to kill Nazis with for 74 years, 23 days, and 52 minutes. So the problem is we don't know when he last killed a Nazi, But the math kind of doesn't work if he's referring to the end of the World War II, because that was 1945, which 74 years later would be 2019. There's no way that's it. So he must have been killing Nazis for a few more years. It's also interesting he's got a 2 on his helmet, which must mean he is the second iteration of G.I. Robot, which of course in the comics, here we see him with the 2 on his helmet. So if there's anybody who's a huge DC fan and read some of these comics and knows when this version of G.I. Robot, the second one, last fought Nazis, at least in the comics, that might be helpful, but still, we need more information to know if that reference gives us anything. And then also, I think this is really cool. In the scenes for next week, Cersei gives us a glimpse of the future. Now, this future is not going to happen, but it does give us some really cool Easter eggs as to some characters we'll be seeing in the DCU down the line. Right? Because we see Peacemaker, of course, we know he's coming back, but this is really cool. We see 5 different characters here, most importantly, Superman in his new outfit. And I love this. Taffy on the Discord threw out some guesses, and I think these are all spot on. So from left to right, Starfire, Captain Atom, obviously Superman, Black Lightning, and Mr. Terrific. So let me know your thoughts on who you think these characters are. But I think those are very good guesses. And it's just kind of fun to see, okay, at least these 5 we know are part of the DCU now, right? But just little pieces we're learning about this new universe. Love it. So let's put together the timeline hints that we learned from these 2 episodes. So the Suicide Squad is either in August of 2020, August of 2021, or December of 2021. Unless, of course, James Gunn changed his mind and wants to, move it to a different time. But those are the 3 most likely dates for it. We know Peacemaker is 5 months after the Suicide Squad, and we know that Creature Commandos is 2 years after the Suicide Squad. But even though it's a full year and a half after Peacemaker Season 2, Economos still has his cane. So, unfortunately, nothing solid to come up with an exact year for any of this, but I do love how this is slowly coming together, and hopefully by the end of Creature Commandos, we'll have a year so we can make this a lot more solid. So I do want to throw out a final question. Do you consider the DCU to be a soft reboot or a hard reboot of the old DCEU? I ask that because James Gunn has called it a soft reboot. That's the term he's using. But to me, it's more of a hard reboot because we're basically starting over, but just pulling in a few of the elements from the DCEU. In fact, on the Discord, we came up with this term of hard reboot with sprinkles, which that's really what it feels like to me. But I just like your opinion. What do you think? Is it a soft reboot or is it a hard reboot? But either way, we're going to learn lots more as this season continues on. So yeah, now we wait for the next episode to drop. I can't wait. It is looking really, really good. Let me know your thoughts on the season in general, any theories you have for it, etc. But I think it's looking fantastic. So don't forget, December contest, be a subscriber, leave a comment. You could win a book or a steelbook. And there's that membership option in case you're interested in that. And I always love to mention the Discord. Here we are on the spoilers section for Creature Commandos. Right after an episode drops, people jump out and start throwing out their theories. It's lots of fun. So there's 1,900 members across the globe, conversations 24/7, and we would love for you to be part of it. I will leave a pinned comment so you can join. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to await the next episode of Creature Commandos.